Hey everybody, welcome to a special episode of Comic Book Nerds Are Hot. This is one of your hosts, Dr.Peter. And if you're wondering, Mr. Oswald Reginald is a bit busy at the moment, so it's just me for today's episode. Don't worry, I have two special guest stars. First, we have Wendel from the Canadian Slag podcast. It's a podcast all about Transformers, and he's also a member of Comic Book Nerds Are Hot.
Hey, how you doing?
And our second special guest is one half member of the popular YouTube series Two Best Friends Play, Matt.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
How are you doing, guys?
I'm good.
Can't complain.
For this special episode, we're going to discuss our favorite and probably one of the most important manga series of all time, Berserk. Berserk is a fantasy manga created by Kentaro Miura. It started as a prototype manga back in 1988 and then became a series in 1990. The franchise has spawned an anime series back in 1997, two video games, one in 1999 on the Sega Dreamcast, another one 2004 on PS2, and three brand new anime films. So for today, we're going to talk about our opinions and thoughts about the series and go into great detail about the characters and the story itself. How did you get into Berserk?
I'll start off by saying that I started off not knowing that Berserk was an anime because I had played the Dreamcast game first.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, this is the best thing ever, and this game is awesome. And I still, like, 2 or 3 years later, still did not know that it was anything but a video game. And then I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with this, but I'd be amazed if you were. There was this Dragon Ball Z fan site called theblackgoku.com.
Yes,
The Black Goku.
Yeah, the Black Goku. And he had fan art contests. And I drew, like, some, like, you know, black thugs as Dragon Ball characters is what he liked the most. And I won, and what I won was, like, he let me see his backlog of, like, every anime ever at that time, which is around, 2000. And I saw Berserk was one of them, and I was like, is that cool Dreamcast game? Wow, they made an anime based off that game? That's cool, man. And then I said, yeah, give me that. I'll have that CD, please. Then I watched it, like, in 2 days straight. Because I was just on a Berserk binge, and yeah, so from that moment on, Berserk, top of my list of my favorite animes of all time. I mean, there's some things that are close, like Gurren Lagann's there, really, really close, Hajime no Ippo, but Berserk's always been at the top for me, so that pretty much sums up, pretty well how I started off with Berserk.
And for you, Wendell?
For me, I think my first exposure to it was being at the Concordia Otaku, like their little viewings they used to have. So I think this was a little bit before Initial D. They started getting Initial D, and they had Berserk. And I was like, wow, this show's really cool, really interesting. But I really disliked the intro, and I remember I said that out loud. And there was a guy in front of me who was like, dude, do you know anything about Japanese music? And I was like, no, but I don't think this sounds that great. He's like, dude, just deal with it and move on. And like he kind of turned back around and watched the show, and I was like, alright. And I just got used to the intro, and I really dug the story, the relationships between the people and how they interact with each other. And when I found out there was a manga, I just grabbed onto that and just kept reading it. And I think maybe like before I got to the manga, like I saw someone playing the Dreamcast game as well. So I thought that was really cool.
What's your thoughts on the ending theme also?
Ending theme's good.
Yeah, I like the ending theme.
Yeah, it's a pretty good song. As for my... Sorry.
Go
ahead, Matt.
I still hate the intro. 20 years from now, I'm going to be like, intro fucking sucks. I will never get used to it. Like, I kind of still appreciate it, like, just because how bad it is. I don't mind singing it in the shower or whatever. But I still dislike it. I still wish it was something else. But like Wendell said, eventually I kind of deal with it, and I'm like, whatever, I can't change it. It's always going to be there, so, there's not much you can do about it, but...
I kind of dig the intro a bit, and it's the only... I find when watching the whole series as a whole, it's the only part, once the series gets really serious and dark. That's the only downtime you really get, to be very honest. Hey, look, I'm seeing a blue sky, and then you go into the episode, and you're like, oh man.
Red skies everywhere.
Yeah, red skies. I need to take a shower. It's so bad. But I like the outro. It's only when you, I guess, find the lyrics for them, you understand what they're saying and what they're talking about. But, I was gonna say, just to wrap it up, by far I find Forces is my most, one of the most powerful songs out of the series.
Indeed, and true. That should have been the opening for that show, I strongly believe.
It's too hype. It's too much epicness for people to handle.
As for myself, I first got into the series by renting the DVDs from a local video store, and it was a pretty damn good series, but then, towards the end, it got so depressing, and man, I gotta read the manga now, see what the hell's going on. And I've been a fan of that manga ever since. The best thing I can say about Kentaro stuff, it's very detailed, and it's very grotesque at the same time. If you like Lord of the Rings and A Song of Ice and Fire, Berserk, the perfect title for you.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, true.
It's up there. It's basically, if anyone wants to get into fantasy, I recommend those 3 series to get into. Let's talk a bit about the story itself. The first arc, basically the Black Swordsman arc, is basically we see Guts having sex with a random chick that turns into a monster, and Guts kills it. Perfect way to start a comic book series.
Invite all the kids and sit around the fire and read about the story of the world of Berserk in Midland, because that's a really great opening.
I wish that was in the opening of the anime, but I guess censorship said no.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a really, I might be, my memory might be bad, but wasn't there a really brief, sort of nod to that scene at the start? He's walking away and there's a fire somewhere, because that's the burning body of the demon he killed? Am I make-believing that? I can't remember.
I haven't seen the anime in a good 6 years, so...
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Okay, just someone please correct us.
Yes. Matt, can you tell us a little bit about the story after that awesome scene in the comic book, and where does it go?
I would say the logical jump off point of that is that after Guts has just finished having sex and killing a demon, he goes off to a nearby village, and that village has a problem with an overlord overseeing it, and he's a kind of an evil guy, and then Guts just goes in there, and the overlord catches wind, one of his spies tells him, oh, there's this badass dude, he's got this sword, dude, we gotta do something, and he's like, oh, what? And he puts on his Serpentor armor.
Yes. His Cobra
la G.I. Joe armor, and then he just starts attacking Guts, and Guts gets pretty messed up, but then he just comes out of nowhere, just as Guts usually does, just gets strength from absolutely nowhere, and has a knockout, drag-out brawl with this dude in armor, and the dude turns out to be this huge, massive demon, and Guts is able to kill him, and Guts explains how he's going across the land just killing all of his kind, which are called apostles. Anybody that has sort of demonic power usually gets it from somewhere. And then he has kind of a brief jaunt with a caravan, and he kind of goes into recalling the story of how he sort of got there. And he kind of goes to his past, and the rest of the anime and the manga kind of converts to a sort of retelling of how he got to where he is today. And he's a little kid, and not a little kid. He's something
a teenager,
though.
Somewhat of a teenager, but he looks like a kid in the anime.
He does, but I can't recall the age exactly. But I recall someone saying he's 11, and he's killing 500-pound dudes. I remember that there's this huge fat guy in huge armor that doesn't exist because it's made to fit bulbous huge earthquake type fat guys. And his name is Pazuzu.
Yeah.
And we're you can't kill Pazuzu, you're just a kid, and he just totally kills him. And everyone's oh man, that kid's super tough.
Yeah, they put a bounty out on Pazuzu because he's blocking them from taking over the castle, and oh, come on, anyone fight Pazuzu and you get all this money. And then he goes up and everyone's looking at him what's this kid? Oh, young warriors always think a bigger sword they can't even wield means that they're strong, and he starts putting Pazuzu on the defensive and wins.
Yeah, like, basically we're going to the Golden Age arc of the story that starts from Volume 3 and ends around Volume 13, which is basically Guts' past and origin. See where he came from. From a young child to a vicious warrior who's out for revenge, as we say. And most of the Golden Age arc deals with Guts' relationship with Griffith and Casca, and the Band of the Hawks, I'm correct? Or the Hawks, yeah. Can you go into the specific details about the Hawks themselves, Wendel?
The Hawks are basically a mercenary group that they work for Midland specifically, the Kingdom of Midland. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they're having a lot of success as opposed to other monarch-run military. They're a band of mercenaries, so they take anyone, all comers. They want everyone to join. And they have a very charismatic and very skillful leader named Griffith. And he leads them, and in the way he's very charismatic. People want to follow him. So after the Pazuzu fight, Griffith wants Guts to join them, and everyone's like, "What? No, he was on the other side. Why do you want him to join us?" And he's like, no, he's going to be good for us. And, reluctantly, the band fight him and lose. And Griffith has to get off his high horse and take out Guts. And he manages to beat him. And so Guts ends up joining in the Band of the Hawk. Within the context of the Golden Age, Griffith is very keen to be a part of the aristocrats. And the aristocrats do not want this slave child, this guy that, has no... Yes, commoner, sorry. This commoner be a part of the upper class because that'll look poorly upon them, make them look weak, etc., all that kind of class system that's going on.
After, towards the Golden Age, Griffith finds this red egg. Can you tell us about this egg, Matt?
I remember it, Griffith is, I can't recall exactly what I'm sure this scene is the same in the manga, because it seems like it would be, because it involves nudity. Griffith is having a fun splash time with, Guts. He's having a bath near a well, Griffith is, and, Guts comes in and he's like, alright, so what are our orders for the next day? And he's like, oh, why are you naked? He's like, whatever, man, it's cool. So he's having this bath, and then he's got, the only thing Griffith is wearing is this tiny red egg medallion on his neck. And he goes into this little story where he got this medallion from an old creepy pedophile in a shed somewhere in some unnamed kingdom. And he's just telling them how anybody that wears this egg will have the power of to do anything that they want. And Griffith kind of is mesmerized by the medallion, but doesn't seem like he's, he doesn't really believe it. He's just like, oh, whatever. I need to wear something around my neck. So he puts that on, and then the Bailet becomes kind of a pretty integral plot point leading up to the end of the Golden Age arc.
And also Griffith becomes obsessed with it to the point where he wants to be more than just a human being. He wants to be a godlike person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Towards the end of the Golden Age arc, we got the massive turning point of the whole series, and to also a lot of people, also the whole eclipse, where Griffith basically sells his humanity and his friends to become something of pure evil. Is that correct, Matt?
Something of pure evil?
Or something like a godlike creature.
Well, I feel that, he doesn't know that it's evil, but if he has an out, he's going to take it, because at this point, everything comes to a head. The aristocrats basically destroy Griffith. What happens?
They skin him alive, basically.
Yeah, what happens is he tries to get with the princess.
Booty call.
There's one important part that I've when I've talked about Berserk with other people is that the only reason Griffith goes with the princess is because he's so depressed and devastated that Guts is now better than him in general swordplay
and everything.
And he can't believe that someone went against Griffith can't believe someone actually broke out of his kind of mesmerizing, charismatic spell and is just able to walk away like totally like super badass. And he's like devastated that someone could actually do that. So the point being is that if that didn't happen, Griffith wouldn't rush into this situation where he tries to get with the Princess of Midland, who he was always going to go for, but do so through the proper channels.
Right, if even possible. If even possible,
exactly. Like, he'd try to do it in the most appropriate ways possible. Then he's like, oh, no, fuck it, rape her in her bedroom, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm supposed to do. And he just does it anyway, and I think it's just some housemaiden or whatever. Just
a chambermaid or something like that.
Yeah, looks through a keyhole, and that screws everything up. She tells the kingdom, and like Wendel was saying, all the aristocrats like come running for him, basically capture him, and like just fuck him up pretty bad in the dungeons.
And then the Band of the Hawk that the kingdom was super dependent on, now they have no enemies. They basically outcast them and hunt them down because they're associated with Griffith and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get Griffith out. They get him out. He is a shell of a man, basically. He's completely broken, malnourished, just completely done.
Cut off tongue, if I remember correctly.
Yes, cut off tongue. His tendons are done.
Skinny to the bone.
And he can still understand, see what's going on, but he can't communicate. He is the shell of the former self he once was. And there's a blood moon out. There's a red moon going on.
Yes.
And I know Guts gets wind of Griffith being in prison, so he goes to find the Band of the Hawk, reunites with all of his mates, his old soldier mates, his mercenary mates. He helps break Griffith out of jail, and during this blood moon, Griffith says something, or he says an incantation, and he starts bleeding onto the bailet, and then boom, the eclipse happens, and he has sacrificed his
friends,
his inner circle, his whole Band of the Hawk to become this god.
Correct.
Become this,
That's what happens really directly in the anime, but there's always that huge difference between the manga and the anime where the aristocrats kind of give up. Like, the aristocrats, they can only do so much, and Guts, if I recall, like, cut through like 3/4 of their army by himself, breaking Griffith out of the castle dungeon.
Oh, and then he stays behind.
Yeah, he stays behind to give everyone, a better chance to get into, like, their getaway wagons or whatever. And the King of Midland sends, like, this fucked up dude, Wild, who's just this basically crazy barbarian that's...
It looks like a troll, almost.
He looks like a troll. Like, he's got this weird animalistic face, and he's in prison, but he's kind of in prison by choice. Like, he could totally break out whenever he wants, but he doesn't because he loves just hacking dudes up in prison. So he sends this guy and gives him like an army of inbred soldiers that are all crazy as him, and sends him against the Band of the Hawk in the manga. And then they have this huge drawn out fight where Wild turns into another apostle demon, and he's telling Griffith stuff about his bailet, and he's like, yeah, that bailet's super strong, dude. I don't even know.
Yeah, he's got the crimson one, right, or something like that.
Yeah, he's got there's different colors. Like crimson's like top tier bailet. Like, if you get this, like, you are set. You are good in gold, man. And then I think Guts and the Band of the Hawk kind of defeat Wild for the moment, and they're escaping. And then the wagon that Griffith is in is careening down towards a lake, and that's where that blood moon is happening. And then Griffith crashes, and he gets all, and like Wendel said, he starts bleeding, and he bleeds onto the bailet. So all that stuff that I just mentioned is not in the anime, unfortunately. But I shouldn't say unfortunately, because in the manga, it's pretty grisly what Wild and his group of mercenaries are doing across villages. To even get to the Band of the Hawk. So, let's just say they pillage and plunder each village, and it's pretty graphic. So
Viking stuff,
Viking shit, yeah. But yeah, so like every time I think why'd they cut that out? It's kind of a cool thing. And then I would look back through the manga and I'll be like, oh, yeah.
Don't worry.
They cut that out.
Don't worry, that's going to be in the movie somehow.
No, I'm thinking it's gotta be. If they're retelling the entire anime again, they gotta at least put that character back in it. But, who knows if they push the envelope that much.
Because, before that, the only other interaction of Beylit people you encounter, they don't really even know that's associated with is Zod, the Immortal, right? Immortal or Impaler?
Zod the Immortal.
The Immortal, and...
Kneel before Zod.
Yeah, and one thing I really liked about that scene is, if you're watching the anime, you get the big hardcore fantasy section in the beginning where Guts fights this demon snake guy, and then it kind of, oh yeah, don't worry about that. And then Guts and Griffith are trying to take over a castle. It's like, we have to fight this guy named Zod. Geez, I wonder what he's like. And then they come across this giant demon, almost chimera, but upright, bull-hoofed, demon wings with horns, and just some guy with a big ass sword, just big demon with a sword. And you're like, wait, what? And they both nearly die, and then Zod just leaves. He's like, oh, you guys are pretty good. And he's like, oh wait, Griffith has the Crimson Beylit. Oh, okay, well I'm sorry. And he just takes off and leaves, and they're like, the hell was that? And they're like, I don't know.
he sees Griffith with this ancient artifact of power, and he's just like, no, I'm out. Because he knows that anybody that has that is destined to do some amazing, not even amazing, but he's destined for a way bigger, greater power than he currently has. So he's like, well, if I kill this dude, nothing might come of it, but it would be more interesting if I let him live, basically.
And we forgot to mention an important character to the series, the Skull Knight. He doesn't appear in the anime at all. He's kind of like the Death Dealer. Do you agree about that, Matt?
Yeah, I'd say so. There's a lot of times where he appears and you're not expecting him to show up because, really now, but then there's other times where he comes at the most critical moment and doesn't do a lot. He basically gives a lot of exposition on these forces of evil that Guts is now trying to hunt down. The only major thing, the only physical thing he ever does is that when Griffith has the Beylit and sort of summons this evil to sort of take him to the next level of what he can be, Griffith, not inadvertently, but knowingly sacrifices all of his friends from the Band of the Hawk, and they all get sacrificed to sort of make Griffith transform into this other form, and all these demons come out of nowhere, and they all kind of just feast on Griffith's friends, and Griffith is letting this happen because he's like, well, whatever, I've sacrificed many people so far, so why stop now? And during all of this, Guts and Casca are trying to stay alive, and they don't really, they just barely aren't, they're barely almost not dead. And
barely?
The person that saves them is the Skull Knight, and
he breaks through, basically.
He breaks through this kind of membrane of an eclipse where all this bad shit's going down because he's super duper powerful. You're not really given much backstory. You're given kind of hints by different characters throughout the manga about what his deal is, but no one's really super sure. And he saves them, and that's the most physical thing he can do. He does other little skirmishes here and there, but not that much. But yeah, he basically comes in and gives, advice. It's usually not good advice. I mean, it's not usually good news. It's yeah, dude, you're gonna have to, sacrifice this, this, and this to get what you want. And then Gus is like, really? And then when he turns, Skull Knight's already gone. So
yeah, he tells him, you have the branding of the gods now, and they're gonna come after you to finish off the sacrifice. So yeah, don't sleep. Bye. Bye. And he's like, wait, what? And he's gone already.
Keep moving.
And also, we forgot to mention that rape scene that lasted, about 19 pages in the manga?
And it's I don't know, maybe a minute in the anime.
Yeah, it's a minute, and there's no in the animated, it's short. It's short.
Yeah, it's short.
It's cut between Guts trying to save Casca and just
screaming out her
it's
name.
All quiet. It's all quiet. There's no sound whatsoever, and it's just him running towards her, and then it cuts, and it goes back to Griffith. It goes back to Guts being the Dark Swordsman in the future, and that's it. And that's all they leave you with.
And the manga is it's very graphic and very detailed. It's like, my God, Casca went through so much shit.
Well, it's graphic and it's detailed, but it doesn't. It's actually he does that scene, draws that scene incredibly well, where you really get the impression that this is going into here, right? But it's not drawn explicitly so much that you can like see every detail, because there's a lot of shadow being in play. There's a lot of like cross hatching, so you get this like you said, real sense of like, you know, Casca is not being treated very well. But it's not drawn in such a way where it's you know, like it's offensive. Let's say it's drawn fairly elegantly compared to what the actual subject material is, if that makes any sense.
Should we explain who Casca is? Because I didn't really go into the inner circle.
No, let's do it, because there's only 3 main characters to the story.
I don't think she's important.
Same thing with Griffith. I don't think he's important too. He's just some emo guy that's wants.
Some bishy.
No, he's was it Sasuke from Naruto?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
basically.
Got everything
and Guts, you better believe it, man.
We should talk about every character, but just make like the parallel of the Naruto character that they are.
What you can do, but what you can also do is the same thing, but then talk about Slam Dunk, because that's where.
Whoa! Stop right there. Slam Dunk and Berserk.
No. I mean Slam Dunk, Naruto, Berserk. Thus, Berserk is Slam Dunk.
I'm sorry. I'm like, I have to stop right there, Wendel, about Slam Dunk and Berserk. It's like, that can't be right, man.
You could, but it's not gonna be that crazy.
So who is Guts? He's basically like a Conan the Barbarian prototype character, if you think about it.
I think he's a lot like Naruto.
he's
No, hear him out.
Okay, let me hear him.
He wants to be the Hokage of Midland. So his foster dad raped him.
Or
like
did
Naruto did.
Into rape.
I'm sorry, I should stop.
But so back to Casca.
Yeah, let's go to Casca. But Guts, in short, Guts is basically a Conan the Barbarian prototype, if you think about it. This big dude with a massive sword, kills people, kills demons, has sex.
The only difference, though, is that Guts can actually, like, you know, over time, like, care about people and love them, whereas Conan never gave a shit.
How about the Arnold movies? He does kind of give a shit.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But in the novels and the comics, nope.
Yeah, but
Conan will throw any woman he's currently dating in the face of, like, a terrible demon if it means he'll get rich, basically. Guts wouldn't really do that, or if that hasn't happened in the manga yet, at least.
I'll give it time. So, Wendel, who is Casca?
Casca is one of the inner circle members of the Band of the Hawk. She's what? She's a lieutenant. She's
African American.
She's second in command or something.
Yes.
Oh, hair's straight for her to be like that. She could be Indian or something.
I think she's just, like, her entire village is tanned, if I remember.
Yeah.
I remember when she was talking about her village, all the village have, like, her complexion. So she's just of a you know, section of the countryside. I'm guessing outside of Midland, and they just have a darker complexion than most. That's what I always understood. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she basically, her village gets wrecked. Griffith was there?
Yes.
Save her? Save what they could, or...
They make the best to save the village.
No, I'm trying to go in for the anime because I've watched those section of episodes a lot. But I recall, like, their village keeps getting wrecked by a war, and
they're on like the borderline of two nations or something.
And their village keeps getting wrecked, and they keep having to rebuild it. And every time this war kind of spills over on their borders, their village gets wrecked. And so like every family was really, living a hard life, and to sort of pay off, to sort of keep living, her father sells her to a noble guy as like a maid, like to grow up to a maid. But of course, in the Middle Ages, nope, he's gonna rape her.
You got money. Yeah, you're aristocrat. Yeah, you're raping somebody.
Yeah, basically. So
it's something atrocious.
I recall she runs out of this old guy's caravan, and then she's in a field, and the guy gets on top of her, and then he just gets his friggin' head sliced by Griffith, who's just standing there with a sword. And so, he basically saves her that way, and then she just... so he slices the guy, does not kill him, and the guy's all pissed off, saying, "Who are you?" And then Griffith throws his sword down and says to Casca, like, "Defend yourself."
Yeah, prove yourself.
And then she grabs a sword, and the guy tries to get back on top of her, and she runs him right through. So she's like, "Oh, that's awesome. Great. I just killed a guy. I should just hang out with you guys then. I can't go back to my parents. They sold me into slavery." So he basically saves her, but gives her a tough lesson in doing so at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, like, over time, she ends up, like, liking him and basically falling in love with him. But, like, Griffith does not see her in that way at all. And when Gus joins the group, like, Griffith kind of, runs him through and he starts bleeding. So after his wounds are healed, he's cold. He's, what do you call that term? Anemic or something like that?
He's freezing.
He's freezing, basically. And Griffith tells Casca to lay with him because he needs to get his warmth back. And she gets super offended by that because it's almost like he's asking her to be a whore, and she doesn't see herself like that. She sees herself as a warrior, as a, as her own woman kind of deal. And, that's basically unheard of during those times. But, like, for her character, it's really cool and stuff like that. So she ends up resenting Guts for, like, a very long time.
Well, over time, they start developing a relationship between those two, and they even have sex also.
Yeah, they were behind enemy lines, and they had to get back to a castle they were raiding or something like that, because they had to draw out the enemy. And they actually, like, have almost like a little bit of downtime together. Well,
yeah, they did. And they had a booty call for that. And I forgot to mention during the eclipse, poor Casca's unborn child.
Yeah.
We can't even go in detail about that because when I first read that, I puked.
Well, to bring Casca ahead with the eclipse, what really is really sad about her getting raped by God Griffith is that she really loved this guy and she'd do anything for him. She'd throw her life away. She was throwing her life away to save him. She finally saves him. He throws her life away, and she sees him, like, all powerful and stuff, and she's like, "Oh my God, Griffith's okay." And then she's like, "Wait, no, he's raping me. Oh my God, I don't want this. I don't want this at all." And, like, that really, like, that was a really sad part of the story. Like, just to see that happen and to her come to that realization.
And afterwards, she becomes a different person after the whole eclipse art.
Yeah.
She basically runs around naked like a little child and drools a lot.
Yeah, it's always unclear. Like, maybe it's never explicitly said, but it's just like, yeah, her mind is just basically gone, but she kind of retains, like, the general faculties of, like a 5-year-old who has autism, maybe. It's kind of like, they just say, yeah, having sex with a demon king that's to be your former friend, yeah, it does something to you, I guess, mentally.
And then giving birth to his reincarnation physical self.
So, yeah, I don't think there's there's nothing you can prescribe at that point. It's just take some, like, Vicodin. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
It's just sad, because, like, you see this girl, she's holding her own, she's doing her best with the guys and everything, and she's pretty badass, and then to just have her kind of be at the side a bit, like, afterwards, it's kind of like, man,
Yeah.
She went backwards.
Not even, like, backwards to the point where you didn't even see her when she was that backwards.
Oh, we Yeah, I forgot to mention, what other character survives the eclipse other than Guts and Casca?
No, he doesn't.
In the anime, it's unclear, but the manga, he does survive.
The kid?
Yeah, Ricketts.
Ricketts.
He survived.
He's like on the outskirts of...
Yeah, he doesn't actually go in. He gets stopped.
He gets stopped, but he still survives technically.
Well, yeah, because two demons that you see, like a demon that will become important later, not important, but a demon that Guts fights when he's older and it's happened in present time, actually comes and finds Rickert, who was supposed to stay behind, waiting for the rest of the Band of the Hawk to get back. Then the eclipse happens, and Rickert's like, yeah, what the hell, they're late. And then these demons appear out of nowhere, and they're like, well, we might as well kill this kid, too, because he's hanging about for no real reason. And then, guess what? Skull Knight to the rescue again, and he saves this little kid.
Freaking Aslan Knight.
Pretty much. And I guess he knows that Rickert will play an important role later, and so he saves him, and I think then Skull Knight just jumps into the eclipse, and maybe it's like a time thing, like when you're inside the eclipse, it like lasts, for however long it lasts. But when anyone on the outside, it happens in like a second. Then he just jumps back out with like a half-dead Casca and half-dead Guts on the back of his horse, and just throws their bodies at Rickert and just bolts.
It's like, see you guys.
He doesn't tell him anything.
Peace him out. Oh,
yeah, it's Skull Knight Ultimate Troll.
He's the start of the troll face. Got the open mouth with the big grin.
His skull face just morphs into like a troll face.
You mad?
You're supposed to do these half-dead people.
You should say that to Guts every time he sees him again. Like, Guts is like, oh, really? I have to go, like, across the ocean and do this? Are you really? Is this really what I gotta do? And then it's just Skull Knight saying, you mad?
So, the story of Berserk, after the eclipse, we get the whole story. It's pretty much Guts against Griffith, and probably the fate of the world hangs in the balance, and crazy shit.
Epic battle of the sexes.
Yes. We got the manliest man on the planet, Guts, against the Bishi character, Griffith.
With white armor.
White armor. Oh,
yeah,
God.
you got the manliest man that has, like, dark armor and a big, big sword, and you got this cutesy dude with the feathers on his thing, long, flowing hair. Every time he's standing somewhere, there's light on him. Just light. Just
light.
There's also birds flying in the background somewhere.
Like, that's one thing that I really like about it is the compare and contrast, where Griffith comes back in a physical form, and he's like this demon king, but he looks very
eternal,
godly, holy, human, just like just very angelical. And then you see Guts, who's the main good guy, and he's all dark. He's got a big sword. He's missing an eye. He's got a metal hand.
He's usually screaming at things,
yelling, and it reminds me of I don't know if you guys have ever seen Haikaider.
No.
Like Metal Warrior movie made back in the day. Well, not back in the day, like in the 90s. And it's kind of like Kamen Rider-esque style, where it's like a very anti-hero, and the anti-hero looks very dark and like Dark Knight, like evil dude, and then the bad guys are orderly and they're very clean, they're all white and stuff like that, but they're extremely evil and fascist. So it's like one of those things.
So pretty much the Berserk story is focusing on this epic battle between Guts and Griffith that's going to come to a head sometime within the next 20 years, I'm guessing, the way Kintaro keeps doing these chapters.
It's so depressing.
I know.
Just wrap it up. That's
the main plot of the whole story. Guts against Griffith, what's going to happen. What are some of your favorite moments or stuff that happened in the Berserk manga, anime, video game in total?
I was going to say, for me, in the anime, when Griffith is talking to the princess, and she's like, so do you have any friends, Guts? And he's like, no, I don't. And this is after Guts just finished getting rid of all the opposition aristocrats for Griffith, just finishing this awesome mission, He got a new sword. He has like this weird hat that's almost it's like the sword and the hat are very reminiscent of Vampire Hunter D. And he overhears this conversation, and Griffith says, the people in the Band of the Hawk aren't my friends because they're just my soldiers. I feel people that are my friends are people that have their own dreams and hopes and ambitions, and only then I can see them eye to eye. And Guts hears this, and he's very, taken aback and hurt a bit, because he thought that, I am working with Griffith, this is my buddy. But no, he doesn't even see me like that. He sees me as a pawn, as a tool for him to get to where he wants to be. And so at that point, Guts decides, I am not part of the Band of the Hawk anymore. I need to find my own passion, my own drive, and I'm out of here. And I also need to train more. And so that scene I really like. Like, it's not even an action scene. It's just people talking and then thoughts coming ahead and just understanding of each other. It's like, okay, you know what? I need to head out. Like, if he feels that way about me, then I need to go elsewhere and whatever. That kind of thing.
And you, Matt?
I have a few, but I guess I'll say one from the anime. When you think about the manga, it's hard to think of it because there's like so many panels, and it's kind of separated differently in your mind. Like, oh, I really like that scene, but it's always broke up in panels, so it's hard to remember. But in the anime, I guess when I was going through it the first time was when I accidentally skipped an episode ahead. I just couldn't find the right episode number, so I just thought it was this one, and it was the one where Guts and Casca kind of finally, get together, basically, after, years of them actually not really liking each other. It's the fact that, there's so many animes where, romance and whatever is done really, really poorly. It's just, oh, I just love this guy because I'm a girl and I love things that look like him, and, whatever. But after, I think at that point, it was maybe 14. Casca and Guts give not really any. If you do not know this, you will never think that they might not get together because they just hate each other, and it's written, fairly well. Like, it feels real that they will always constantly butt heads. But in the episode, they finally sort of, after Guts leaves the Band of the Hawk and then comes back to rescue Griffith. The night before they go, the day before that they go to go on this rescue mission, they kind of have a fight with each other, and then she doesn't understand why Guts came back after he kind of and she gets upset that to think so highly of him, and then all these emotions just kind of come to a head, and that results in boning as the law dictates, I guess. Even though I say it like that, I remember like they're both in this sun-kissed glen in the mid-forest, and Guts throws his cloak out on the ground, and then they're just snuggling or whatever, but they're still kind of like, oh, I still can't stand you, kind of. Like, like you still, I don't know about you, but I guess I love you because you're all I can depend on or whatever. And I just remember being kind of, this is different than almost like the majority of animes that I had seen up to that point, at least, where relationships always kind of felt fake and forced, but for whatever reason it felt like really natural. And
yeah, because they end up spending a lot of time together. I think they were working together for like 4 years, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
They're a long while. They've been in a lot of battles and stuff. So they kind of know how each other thinks, and they don't like it. But, they get why each other is doing that, though. So, like, they have a nice understanding, and, they clearly know how each other works. Which is one thing I like about that, too.
My favorite part about Berserk is the characters themselves. Outside of Puck, all the characters are very realistic, and you can have an emotional connection to each and every one of them.
Poor Judo. Poor Judo.
Yeah, Judo.
Can't connect to him anymore.
No, not allowed.
He was one of my favorite characters. When he said that last line in the anime and in the manga, that tear hit me right there. It was an emotional scene.
Yeah, I know a few people a girl I know, like she attached to, like she doesn't care about Griffith, she doesn't care about Guts, she was all about the judo.
I don't know, it's always in like medieval stories or stuff like that, they always have a guy that's really good with throwing weapons, and he's always like the most charismatic dude that's like, it's a life.
He's like Hawkeye, basically.
Yeah, like it's like, I could deal with it. Yo, you should have fun. Like just a very joyful kind of character, a bright character that everyone kind of likes.
He's I don't want to say he's the senpai character. He's more like what you meant, like the romantic / hero. He's like Juza from Fist of the North Star to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's true.
Juza of the Clouds. Basically, he loves this one woman, but she doesn't love him in return, but he pretends he's like always awesome and gets all the chicks, but they don't really love him.
I remember Judo always has a really good line saying, I think he's describing the type of mercenary bands he used to hang out with before the Band of the Hawk, and he learned a lot from all of the bands, but he learned how to be good in everything, but never a master. In one thing. So he's good with knives. He's good with he can make.
He's good with sword battles.
He's good with a lot of things, but he'll never be the best at any of them.
Were there any moments in the manga or in the anime series that you didn't like or had a WTF moment?
I would probably say a bit later on in the manga. I don't know how far off we're gonna go with the storyline, but it's like way late. I just probably have to reread it to understand it, but it's just further down. That's all.
There is one in particular that happens later, like not too much later, but I remember thinking, wow, that was incredibly useless and pointless, and he only did that just so that it would be cool and make, whatever was going on at the time interesting. I think it was the Guts is just killing 1 million trolls somewhere. I think he's just trying to buy time for the rest of his party to get out somewhere. And all the trolls' entrails suddenly form into Slan, the female god apostle that gave Griffith his power, and all these entrails kind of just make a version of her, and she kind of flirts with Guts and just taunts him. But then you're thinking, when you see that, like at the end of the chapter, you see her made out of entrails, and you're like, well, that's cool, what's going to happen? But then she actually doesn't really do anything important or say anything important, and I honestly can't remember if Guts slices at the entrails and kills her, or if she just goes away. But I remember seeing a scan of that, of her in this intestine form, and I'm like, oh man, stuff's getting real. And then it didn't. Nothing really happened due to that, and I was kind of disappointed.
For myself, the WTF moment or bad moment that happened to me was when the Skull Knights showed up and rescued this chick that we thought was like a witch. And he sees her and he grows attracted to her and he gets a boner.
What?
Yes.
What?
I don't remember that.
I remember that.
Neither do I. I don't know where
this was
I don't remember Skull Knight boners.
I remember that. That stuck out in my mind because he's talking to this chick who people thought she was a witch, and he was talking to her, and then he has an erection, and it's like, what?
Badass.
Late in the series, when Griffith comes back, there's this little girl that's basically a preacher for him, some unsung, I guess town crier or spokesman for the Hawk. But she doesn't really hang out with the Hawk or anything or do anything. She's just crazy over Griffith and the newly formed Band of the Hawk kind of deal. I just never really understood what her deal was. It just always seemed really confusing and odd how she just accepted all this crazy stuff that's going on around her. I don't know if you guys know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, because after the whole Golden Age arc, we go into the Retribution arc and the Hawk of the Millennium Empire arc, which is basically Guts goes out, gets his own super team.
Gets his own D&D team.
Exactly.
And then Griffith, again, his own D&D team.
He's got an army going.
He's got an army.
army.
He's
of,
got an actual good team, though.
A good team.
He's got the Midland Army. The Midland.
Yeah, he's got the Midland Army, but he has all these super soldiers. Like, literally, like, Howard Stark gave them the super soldier serum. And there's, like, a guy who's an archer who can hit people from miles away. And then there's a dude that can turn into a crystal dragon. And then Guts has, like, a little kid with a knife.
No, he's got a little... He's got a thief, he's got a witch in training, he's got Casca, who's basically the damsel in distress. He's got the young queen and her mysterious half-brother.
No,
And
is she queen or she's just...
I think she's a princess.
Yeah, princess.
Okay. And
the Holy Knights something or
yeah, because she was like an inquisitor or something, right?
Yep.
And then she realized how crappy she is, and that the guy that's supposed to protect her is way better at her fighting. And so she becomes like a new witch apprentice dealie.
And by the end of... Sorry, Matt.
No, I was just going to say quickly, it's like the only real kind of... I think each character has a specific weapon or power they receive from, like, that witch in the forest. They all got something that was pretty cool. And it's like a useful weapon, but I remember every time it goes back to Griffith, and he's got like these super soldiers, and all of them are actually pretty nice. Like, some of them are kind of like rough, but they're all like, they follow his orders, and they're super top tier. And it always goes back to Guts' party, and I'm like, what are you guys gonna do?
At the end of the Hawk of the Millennium Empire arc, we see Griffith, basically, his dreams come true. He has his own castle, his own empire with demons and humans going inside, and we don't know what's going to happen next.
I bet you he doesn't feel any more fulfilled, and he realizes it was all pointless.
He realizes it was all a dream. He used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper, and Heavy D on the big screen.
No, he wants more.
What was spinning in Griffith's record player? Eh? What was in his CD tray?
Probably Slayer.
Rebel Without a Pause.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Public Enemy. Flavor Flav. Gotta get that. ODB.
Now, we all know Kentaro is kind of slow drawn, but there's a reason why he's slow. He spends most of his time basically playing Moe games and watching Idolmasters, playing Idolmasters, and probably doing Moe drawings and
dude has to realize that sooner or later he's gonna die. So he needs to get this done.
It's weird because it seems like manga creators don't see that at all.
Oda's still doing it.
Like, you have the guy that does
One Piece.
No, not One Piece. Guyver. You have the guy that does what was it? Galaxy? No, not Galaxy. Was it Cyborg 009?
He's dead.
He's dead, but he ended one of his apprentices kept going with it. The Skullman series too.
The Skullman series is a prequel to the whole Cyborg and Kamen Rider series.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like, just write an outline. Don't Wheel of Time this nonsense, for the love of God.
He might be Wheel of Time with the way things are going. Things have been going on for 26 years now, and it's like
time is turning.
A lot of people are speculating, like, how far is he in the story? Is he, like, halfway through the story, or is he, like, halfway through, like, the first part of a trilogy, a 5-part series?
Just the callback, it's not Wheel of Time, it's Dragonlance, was it?
No, it's the Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. He died before he completed the book.
Alright, thank you, sorry about that.
No problem.
When are they going to get to the... When are they going to get to the fairy village?
They're never going to get there.
If they do, it'll probably be like at volume 100 or something.
Oh my God, I keep on... I have no space on my bookshelf. Seriously. I was hoping to buy some other mangas there and stuff, but this is ridiculous.
I forgot to mention also, Kentaro is basically a big fan of Gwyn Saga, which is a Japanese light novel series. Also Excalibur, the big fan of the Conan movies. He also likes the Highlander movie and the Evil Dead series. So if you look at Berserk, you see some of those influence spread across the manga.
Didn't he mention in an interview that right when Evil Dead
2 came out,
Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness came out, Guts started using the metal arm.
Yeah, and also he had the metallic hand and the chainsaw. He mentions this on the Berserk box set DVDs during the interview.
What did he say? That he came out first with it?
Yeah,
like,
he came up first, and then when he watched the movie, he's like, "Oh my god, I might get sued."
Yeah, exactly. But then he was like, "Oh no, I'm fine because Guts has a cannon in his hand, so it's all good."
So, what do you gentlemen expect that will happen for the Golden Age arc anime movies that are coming out early 2012? We've been waiting for this for like 12 plus years, man.
Yeah, it's true. I hope that it'll go forward, explaining more of the series, shows off a bit more what happens in the manga, maybe show the Skull Knight, maybe show Puck, because in the anime there's no real inkling of fairies at all.
But, Wendel, you forget one important thing. No one cares about Puck.
I do. He's the comic relief, and he's the only way they could put in other anime, like other pop culture references in the show. Wow.
Whatever, man. Whatever.
But then what about Puck and then the fairy girl?
It's just Miura just doing fanfic material on the side.
Matt, are you there?
Are you there, Matt?
I'm sorry.
No problem.
My mic was acting weird. Mic check.
Your mic sounds nice.
My mic sounds nice.
There you go. You're back.
A lot of repetition, I think. It seems like, it might be the kind of thing where, Berserk's been out of the limelight for quite a while, and they just kind of want to reintroduce it, with a more modern take on the animation, and I think it would probably be the plan would be to stick closer to the manga as much as possible. But I also see them skipping over, even though it's 3 movies, there's still a lot of stuff going to be skipped. So
they got like 13 volumes to tell 3 movies.
Yeah, so it's not so much of a thing that they're doing it for fans of Berserk. They're doing it to get new fans of Berserk, rather, and then maybe, hopefully, if the movies are really successful, we'll finally get another series covering the stuff where the series ended. The series got cut. Because if anything, I've heard people complain about Berserk, the anime, is just like, why does it cut there? Where's the next episode? And everyone never does their research. And
because the way the last episode ends is just Guts getting his sword touched up, and then leaving the blacksmith, and then with his back to the door, he closes the door at the end. That's it. So it just goes back to the beginning. But nothing to continue. Like, if you rewatch the first 2 episodes, there you go. Ending in the present.
I have a lot of hope
for.
Sorry.
I said that to people before about how, if you're confused about what happens, just watch the first episode again.
Yeah. I have a lot of high hopes for this anime because we've got Studio 4C that's doing the anime films. They're the same people that have done the Detroit Metal City anime, the Thundercat show, Batman Gotham Knights, and so they know their niche. So this is going to be some great movies coming out, and hopefully.
They also did. Sorry, I wanted to say they also did the anime cutscenes of the Street Fighter 4 games. Yay!
That's a mad shout out to Wooly. Peace, Wooly.
I wouldn't come down so hard on those anime cutscenes if, I feel that, Capcom could have just used their in-game graphics engine to do those cutscenes, to be very honest. Just do that.
Yeah, but that would require work.
And effort. One thing I hope they don't do with the movies, like what they were kind of doing for the Zeta movies for Gundam, where they just take old footage, try to remaster it, and then interlace it with newer footage.
That's not going to happen.
I just hope that doesn't happen. Just all new footage.
It's all going to be new footage.
I don't think that could possibly happen because Berserk, it's hard to, you look at Berserk now and it still looks good, but it's clearly from, the past. Mm-hmm. So you'd have to have some serious balls to think you can, fool people with that.
Yeah. So any closing thoughts, guys, before we wrap it up about Berserk?
Berserk's awesome.
Berserk is...
Berserk, the real story of the Middle Ages, if you ignore the fantasy part. It wasn't fun. Everyone wasn't the princess, everyone wasn't the prince, everyone wasn't the king. People were still just as evil and bad as today.
Yep.
Well, here's a small closing thought. There was a German lord who actually lived in Germany, and his name was like Guts von something, and he had an iron cast metal arm.
It was Guts von... Oh god, I'm going to butcher this name. Berlerchimigen. Yeah, something like that. I'm butchering his name. But he was basically a German knight. He was basically like a Robin Hood type figure.
Yeah, okay, that was it.
And he had like a prosthetic arm, like Guts.
Bionic arm!
Bionic punch. Yeah, Berserk is an awesome series. Everyone go out, get the DVDs, which are available from Media Blasters, or buy the manga from Dark Horse Comics. It's worth...
You must be of consenting age.
Consenting age. It's worth your money. So, Wendel, Matt, do you have anything you have to say, like to pimp anything out before we wrap it up?
Two Best Friends, Season 3, starts next Sunday, August 14th. Please just go on YouTube and put that into YouTube and then click the video so I can get money. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And for you, Wendel?
I just did a wrap-up TFCon with Toycast. It can be found on Geekcast Radio. Check that out. Otherwise, you can hear me on Canadian Slag on cybertron.ca. New episode. I don't know when a new episode is going to be coming out. We still have to record it.
Well, thanks, Wendel and Matt, for being on the show. So join us next time on the next episode of Comic Book Nerds Are Hot. Bye now.